I just maybe 6 months ago started acupuncture, and I know the power of Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. They've been around long, long before Western
Thousands of years.
medicine, thousands
Yeah.
of years, and it's still around, which means that it works. And you're dealing with acupuncture points. So, as you're talking and explaining what the basic principles of EFT is, can you kind of compare it to just pure acupuncture and how it's a little more than that or different than that or and complementary?
Yeah. And so you said with acupuncture for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they have said there's a flow of energy through the body along these pathways that are called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well being, physically and emotionally. And when this energy gets disrupted in some way, then we experience discomfort, dis-ease, physically and emotionally. So in traditional Chinese medicine, the doctor would stick needles in these key points, what we know as acupuncture, and there's acupressure. And what we're doing is a form of acupressure. We're stimulating these same points with our fingertips. So we're tapping on these points instead of sticking needles in them to to clear out those disruptions and get back to that balanced state of flow. Now, we have a growing body of scientific evidence showing that tapping downregulates stress. So the acupuncture model is the basis for how tapping was discovered when a psychotherapist named Roger Callahan was working with a woman with a water phobia, and he'd been studying acupressure at the time, and said, "Well, let's see if we can do something about the physical symptom. When you have this fear of water, what do you feel?" She says, "Well, I get a knot in my stomach." And he said, "Oh, okay. Well, the meridian, the endpoint for the stomach meridian is right here under the eye. Let's just tap here for a moment, see
Mm.
if we can do something about a knot in the stomach." Not only did her stomach feel better, her water phobia disappeared. She ran to the swimming pool, splashed water in her face, and said, "I feel fine." Now, it generally doesn't happen that instantaneously, but it does sometimes where by just tapping on a point or two, we get such a shift in our energy. And so there are a number of ideas about how exactly the mechanics are working to such that we feel this relief when we are tapping on these points. We're stimulating these areas of our body, and that acupuncture's been around for thousands of years, but we have modern technology that can show that these are areas of lower electrical resistance, and tapping on these points sends a calming signal to the brain. And so it's using the same process. It's just a lot of people don't like needles, so it's a more comfortable way of doing it. It's much easier to do it on yourself. When you're in a situation where you're stressed out, like you're in traffic and somebody has cut you off, you don't go, "Oh, where are my needles? Let me just
Right,
start sticking."
right.
So it's a very simple way of calming down that stress response, and how it can be so helpful in so many different areas of our lives, including our physical discomfort, is that most, if not all, of the things that bother us, both physically and emotionally, are either caused by or worsened by stress.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
having a simple technique for calming down stress allows us to alleviate emotional discomfort, physical discomfort. And we can also use that in terms of making our lives better. So it's not just about, okay, well, I have things that are bothering me, so let me get rid of this. But looking at, okay, how do I want to make things better? If I want to have better relationships in my life, if I want to have greater career success, greater financial abundance, the extent to which we're not experiencing what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we're resisting it.
Mhm.
So I may be resisting better health emotionally. I may be resisting better financial success. And so I have some stress that comes up when I try to make changes. And by having a technique that can calm down that stress, it's like, oh, you know what? It would be okay for things to be better.
Right.
When you talk about all the different ways that, okay, my health can be better and I'm doing these different things, Why might I resist it being better? What part of me says, well, yes, Sarah, you could be in better physical shape, but then there'd be other expectations and people would think you should do this and they'd expect more of you. So whatever it might be, or, my friends are already jealous for how successful I am or how healthy I am. If I have even more success and even more health, what are the negative consequences of things getting better and better? And we're not consciously thinking of that all the time, sometimes, but unconsciously we're thinking about that stuff all the time, and we're making choices. We're blocking things being better in different ways, and the tapping helps us calm down the stress to say, it's okay if things get better, and I'm
Yeah.
allowing things to get better, and that benefits others.
What I heard you say a while back that if you think that you don't have a limiting belief, say it's for financial gain, then why are you not on your way, or why are you not there yet? Right? Well, and that really hit home with me because it's like, okay, I must have a limited belief inside me somewhere subconsciously that's holding me back. And to really get in tune with that and then work through it. The other point I wanted to just emphasize, acupuncture is great. It's expensive. You've got to be at a location. You're not doing it to yourself. You can't do it in your car when you're having an anxiety attack. All of these things. And then the last thing is stress makes us resistant of change. It makes us hold on to what we know, even if it's the hell we know,
Yeah,
versus, right? So
the devil you know. Yeah,
just by lowering that and switching into the parasympathetic mode, you're opening the door for change. Um, and that just is basic understanding, so that makes total sense of how it works. Now let's dive into the science behind it, how it affects the nervous system. And you touched on this a bit, and the energy meridians. And just like acupuncture, they put the needles in those spots to increase the chi, the flow, the energy throughout the body, to lower stress. And then also how just maybe the placebo effect could also be a little bit a part of it, or maybe not. Maybe it's just the science behind the ancient Chinese wisdom.
yeah. Well, so you might have someone like Dr. Deepak Chopra who will say it's all consciousness, which means that everything we do is all placebo.
Right.
No matter the supplements, the surgery, whatever, it's you could ultimately say it's all placebo because whatever our consciousness allows to work or our consciousness stops from working, because we can have the best supplements, but not everyone is going to have the same result in the same time frame.
Mm-mm.
So it's just cause and effect, and there's nothing that we have involved in that. So we can resist that, and like you said earlier about the limiting beliefs, because I'll work with people who say they want to have more money, and I'll say, well, look at where the resistance might be. I have no resistance. I absolutely want to make more money. Okay, so if I look at your spending habits, well, no. And I'm looking at how you're making business choices. Okay, so maybe I don't make all the best business choices. Could be resistance, just saying. And it's not that we're bad or stupid, but we have old programming about why we
Yes.
couldn't or shouldn't be healthier or happier or wealthier or whatever it might be. And when we come up against those areas of, I shouldn't be any more of this, there's like an electric fence. We have that comfort zone inside there. And we feel stress when we get to that edge. And so we just want to calm down that stress. As I was saying earlier, as far as the mechanics, there are a number of theories in terms of, is the tapping, it's this piezoelectric phenomenon where it sends this electrical signal to the amygdala, telling it to calm down. You mentioned parasympathetic. So the sympathetic nervous system is when the amygdala in our brain perceives a threat and says, all right, everybody on deck, and we go into fight or flight. Sometimes it's really obvious, like when we're having a panic attack, and sometimes it's very subtle we just find ourselves just making a different choice. If when you're saying, I want to be healthier, and you find yourself eating a whole box of cookies, that's because you may not be doing it in a very calm way, but there's some level of fight or flight going on such that your party is saying, I'm not safe, I'm not feeling good, I need to take care of myself. And I'm doing it so in a very illogical way, but I'm trying to take care of myself. And then when we get the all clear, that's when we have the parasympathetic nervous system saying, all right, everything's okay. And so that's the tapping is expediting the parasympathetic nervous system. And that we're looking at how it interacts with the vagus nerve and the polyvagal system. And so what we do know is that we have all kinds of different tests. We've done cortisol studies. So cortisol is one of the stress hormones that when we go into fight or flight. And in double blind studies, the groups that do the tapping, their cortisol levels drop sometimes as much as, I think, 41 was up to 43%, which is
Wow.
a staggering amount. The first study that was done on cortisol with stress, the the lab technicians, when they first ran there was an average of 24% decrease in cortisol levels. The lab technicians said that's not possible. These people tapping on their faces did that. So they threw out the results, recalibrated the machines, and ran it again. Oh no, it actually did. The
Well,
groups,
and
yeah,
who doesn't need that today? I mean, our children in general, what an amazing gift you could give your child to teach them how to tap and self soothe, right? The I was just talking to a friend of mine with three grown children in their 20s. All of them have anxiety, and they're on social media, right? So get
we're
off the
all
and
walking around with a stress-inducing device that is constantly saying, "How you feeling? Do you hear
right.
about this? Here's something to be upset about."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this is the beauty. If you're tapping on yourself, you can't hold a cell phone at the same time. So it's a win win. But our children are so stressed, their hormones are out of whack that makes things worse. But that anxiety is at an all time high. And same for us. I mean, yes, the world's crazy. Yes, it's chaotic. Yes, we've got family issues and parent issues and spousal issues and children issues and financial issues. But I believe that our perceived stress is higher than ever. Our nervous systems don't know how to get into that parasympathetic mode. They're just constantly in fight or flight. So you don't even know how stressed you are because you never get out of it. And then you're
exactly.
not sleeping well, which is making things worse. And then you stick to the same routine because that's the safe spot. And you're afraid to get out of your box. And so this is why I'm so excited about this. And you better believe I will be sharing this with my own children.